Viewers, just imagine for a moment, you are walking deep inside a frozen forest. The trees are covered with snow, the cold wind whistles through the branches, and an eerie silence surrounds you from all directions. This scene is not from today's America but from centuries ago, when there were no modern cities, no highways, no skyscrapers. At that time, this vast land was ruled by tribes. These tribes lived in forests, mountains, and near rivers. Their lives revolved around hunting, survival, and mysterious spiritual beliefs. Among those beliefs, one of the most terrifying legends still remembered today is that of the Wendigo. The Wendigo is not just a monster from campfire stories. It is a dark spirit deeply rooted in the folklore of the Algonquian tribes of North America. According to their belief, the Wendigo was born from extreme hunger, greed, and the sin of cannibalism. They believed that when a human, trapped in freezing winters, starving and desperate, resorted to eating human flesh to survive, his soul would be cursed forever. That person would no longer remain human. Instead, he would transform into a creature known as the Wendigo, a horrifying, skeletal giant with sunken eyes, sharp claws, and an endless craving for human flesh. The most chilling part? The Wendigo could never be satisfied. The more it ate, the hungrier it grew. Its hunger was eternal, a fire that could never be put out. For the Native Americans, the Wendigo wasn't just a scary story to frighten children at night. It was also a warning, a moral tale that reminded people never to let hunger, greed, and desperation strip away their humanity. But here is the real question: was the Wendigo just a myth, or something real? Historical accounts show that during the 18th and 19th centuries, in the northern United States and Canada, there were indeed reports of cannibalism among tribes trapped in harsh winters. Food would run out, storms would cut them off from the outside world, and in desperation, some people attacked their own families. Whenever such horrifying events occurred, the elders of the tribe would say, "The Wendigo has taken over his soul." Sometimes, these so-called possessed individuals were executed by tribal leaders to prevent the curse from spreading. Some tribal shamans even claimed they had seen the Wendigo themselves. They described it as towering as tall as the trees, with glowing eyes, long yellowed teeth, and a blood-curdling scream that echoed through the frozen forests. Its footprints in the snow were said to be larger than any humans, resembling those of a monstrous beast. One of the most well-known tales speaks of a group of hunters who were trapped during a violent snowstorm. With no food left, they starved for days. Then suddenly, one hunter snapped. He attacked his companion with inhuman strength and began devouring his flesh. The others claimed that his eyes glowed red like burning coals, and his voice was no longer human. They fought back and killed him, but they believed his spirit never left. They said it transformed into a Wendigo that still roams the northern woods. This became known as the Curse of the Wendigo. For the tribes, the Wendigo was more than a monster, it was a symbol of greed, selfishness, and the loss of humanity. It carried a powerful moral: the moment humans let their hunger and desire control them, they lose their souls. Anthropologists today suggest that the Wendigo legend was shaped by the brutal winters of North America. It was a cultural explanation for what could happen when starvation pushed people beyond their limits. It was a story that instilled fear, discipline, and caution in tribal members. And yet, even in modern times, the legend refuses to die. In the 20th century, several people reported seeing a strange creature in the snowy forests of Canada and Minnesota. Witnesses described it as unnaturally tall, with glowing eyes, sharp fangs, and a terrifying presence. Some claimed they saw massive footprints in the snow, prints far too large to belong to a human. True or not, these stories continue to spark fear and fascination. The Wendigo legend has seeped into American culture, appearing in books, films, and even modern horror tales. But to the native tribes, it remains more than fiction. To them, the Wendigo is real. It is a spirit of endless hunger that still haunts the frozen wilderness. So, was the Wendigo just a myth told around tribal fires? Or was it something far more real, an ancient curse that still stalks the snowy forests of North America? That question remains unanswered. Viewers, the Wendigo was not the only terrifying legend that haunted the Native American tribes. In the deserts of the Southwest, far away from the snowy forests of the North, there was another story, darker, more mysterious, and far more frightening. It is the legend of the skinwalkers, the shapeshifters, the witches who could turn into animals, and the ones who walked between the world of men and the world of evil spirits. This legend comes primarily from the Navajo people. For centuries, the Navajo have whispered about strange beings who live among them, beings that look human by day but transform into something horrifying by night. These creatures are said to have the power to shift their shape into wolves, coyotes, owls, or even other humans. The very word skinwalker comes from the idea that they wear the skin of animals to gain their powers. But these are not heroes. No, the skinwalkers are pure evil. According to the Navajo, a person becomes a skinwalker only after committing the darkest of deeds, killing a family member. That act of ultimate betrayal strips them of their humanity and grants them supernatural abilities. From that moment on, they no longer live as humans but as cursed witches, forever tied to darkness. Imagine, you are walking late at night through the deserts of New Mexico. The stars shine above, but the land is quiet, almost too quiet. Then, suddenly, you hear the sound of footsteps behind you. You turn, and nothing is there. You keep walking, but the sound follows. Faster, heavier. And then, out of the shadows, a figure emerges. Its body looks like a man, but its face is twisted, its eyes glowing, and its movements are not human. Before your eyes, it drops to the ground and transforms, its bones snapping, skin tearing, and suddenly, a massive wolf stands in its place, staring directly at you with glowing yellow eyes. That is the fear of the skinwalker. The Navajo people are often reluctant to even speak of skinwalkers. They believe that just talking about them can attract their attention. Elders say that skinwalkers roam at night, running faster than any animal, entering homes without being seen, and cursing their victims with illness, death, or madness. Some say that if a skinwalker locks eyes with you, it can take control of your mind, making you see things that aren't there or forcing you to harm yourself. One chilling legend tells of a family that lived in an isolated part of the desert. At night, strange scratching sounds echoed on their roof. When they looked outside, they saw enormous wolf-like creatures circling their home. But the strange part was, these wolves walked on two legs. When the father fired his rifle at one, it didn't run away. Instead, it stood upright and laughed, a sound not belonging to any human or animal. The next morning, the family found human footprints in the sand, leading away from the house. Another tale speaks of travelers who were followed by a strange coyote on a lonely desert road. No matter how fast they drove, the coyote kept up with their car. Finally, it ran ahead and disappeared into the night. But when they arrived at the nearest town, they saw a strange man waiting for them. His eyes glowed faintly, and his grin was unnaturally wide. The travelers swore, it was the same coyote they had seen on the road. Skeptics might say these are just stories born from fear of the night. But interestingly, many Navajo reservations today still report sightings. People talk of large humanoid creatures running beside their cars at impossible speeds. Others claim to have seen animals with human-like faces staring at them through their windows. There are even reports of voices calling people's names in the dead of night, voices that sound like loved ones, but belong to something else entirely. Anthropologists suggest the skinwalker legend may have roots in ancient shamanic practices. In some cultures, shamans wore animal skins to connect with spirits. But among the Navajo, it is believed that some used these powers for evil. They became corrupt, hungry for power, and turned into skinwalkers. The terrifying part is, many Navajo believe skinwalkers are not just myths. They are among us, hidden in plain sight. They could be anyone, your neighbor, a stranger in the market, even someone in your own family. By day, they live as humans. By night, they transform into creatures of darkness. And here is the worst part, skinwalkers are said to be nearly impossible to kill. Ordinary weapons don't work. The only way, according to legend, is to strike them with bullets or arrows dipped in white ash. Only then can the curse be broken. Even today, the Navajo people speak cautiously of skinwalkers. They do not laugh at the legend. They treat it with respect and fear. Because in the quiet deserts of Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico, the sound of footsteps at night might not belong to an animal. It might belong to something much darker. So, viewers, the question remains, are skinwalkers just an ancient tale used to explain strange events in the desert? Or are there truly shapeshifters walking among us, hiding behind human faces, waiting for the cover of night to reveal their true forms? The truth may never be known. But the fear is very, very real. Viewers, we have traveled through the icy forests haunted by the Wendigo, and the deserts where skinwalkers roam under the moonlight. But now, let us lift our eyes to the skies, for one of the most awe-inspiring and terrifying legends of Native America does not walk the earth, it soars above it. This is the legend of the Thunderbird. The Thunderbird is one of the oldest and most powerful figures in Native American mythology, found in tribes across the continent, from the Pacific Northwest to the Great Plains. According to legend, the Thunderbird is a massive bird, so large that when it spreads its wings, it covers the sun. Its eyes flash lightning, its wings beat with thunder, and storms follow wherever it flies. But make no mistake, this was no ordinary bird. It was a creature of immense spiritual power. Some tribes saw it as a protector, a guardian spirit that fought against evil forces. Others feared it as a dangerous, uncontrollable power that could bring destruction. The duality of the Thunderbird, protector and destroyer, made it both revered and feared. Imagine, standing on the plains hundreds of years ago. The sky darkens suddenly, though there are no clouds. A shadow passes overhead. You look up, and you see a creature so enormous that your mind refuses to believe it. A bird with wings wider than any mountain ridge, talons the size of tree trunks, and eyes glowing with electric fire. With each flap of its wings, thunder roars across the land. That is the vision of the Thunderbird. Legends tell us that the Thunderbird lived on mountaintops, above the clouds, where humans could never reach. From there, it watched over the world below. When evil spirits or monstrous serpents rose from the depths of the earth, the Thunderbird descended to do battle. Lightning would strike from its eyes, and storms would rage as it fought. In this way, it was seen as the eternal enemy of chaos. But the Thunderbird was not always kind. If angered or disrespected, it could unleash devastating storms, floods, and destruction upon entire tribes. Some stories say that when tribes failed to honor their spiritual duties, the Thunderbird would send endless rains and lightning as punishment. One famous legend from the Sioux people tells of a great war between the Thunderbird and the water serpent, known as Unkthi. The serpent would rise from rivers and lakes, bringing floods and chaos. But the Thunderbird would strike from above, shooting lightning bolts and crashing thunder until the serpent retreated. This eternal battle between sky and water, storm and flood, became a powerful symbol in Native tradition. What makes the Thunderbird even more fascinating is the possibility that it may not be entirely myth. For centuries, people across North America have reported sightings of enormous birds, so big they could carry off deer, and sometimes even children. In the 1800s, newspapers reported encounters with giant birds in the Midwest. In 1890, 2 Arizona ranchers claimed to have shot and killed a massive winged creature resembling a pterosaur, a prehistoric reptile. Though no proof remains, the story became legendary. Even in modern times, reports of giant birds, sometimes called thunderbirds, still surface. In 1977, in Illinois, a family claimed that a giant bird swooped down and lifted their young child off the ground before dropping him after a struggle. Other witnesses across the Midwest have reported seeing birds with wingspans over 20 feet wide, far larger than any known species today. Could these be remnants of some prehistoric creature, mistaken for the thunderbird? Or is it the thunderbird itself, still roaming the skies as it has for centuries? For the tribes, though, the thunderbird was never just an animal. It was a spirit, a force of nature. They painted it on totem poles, carved it into rocks, and wove it into their stories to remind people of the balance between respect and fear. To see the thunderbird in a vision was considered both a blessing and a warning, a sign that great power was watching you. Even today, in the Pacific Northwest, the image of the thunderbird is sacred. It stands as a symbol of strength, protection, and the raw power of nature. But to those who still live close to the land, beneath the vast skies, the legend is alive. On stormy nights, when lightning splits the sky and thunder shakes the earth, some still whisper, "The thunderbird is flying again." So, viewers, is the thunderbird just a myth, a way for ancient tribes to explain storms and natural forces? Or is it a memory of something real, a giant creature that once ruled the skies of America? The truth may be hidden in the clouds, but the legend will never die. In the late 16th century, England attempted to establish its first permanent colony in America. This colony was built on Roanoke Island, which lies in present-day North Carolina. In 1587, about 115 settlers arrived there, including men, women, and children. The governor, John White, came to oversee the colony, but due to shortages of food and supplies, he had to sail back to England. He promised his family and the colonists that he would return soon. But when he finally came back almost 3 years later, he was met with a chilling sight that has haunted history ever since. The entire colony had vanished, no people, no homes, no signs of life. The only clue left behind was a single word carved into a tree, croton. This word resembled the name of a local native tribe, but no evidence was ever found that the colonists had joined them. Some historians believe they may have assimilated with nearby tribes, others argue they died from famine or disease, and some suggest a darker, supernatural explanation. To this day, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. Each year, thousands of visitors come to the island, but one question still lingers. Where did the 115 settlers go?